Hello there. These are very concerning times. We are about to see Kier, the nihilist Stalin, crack down heavily on free speech. So much for Labour's observance of human rights. Right now, the Labour Party is gearing up for an assault on UK freedom of expression. They are using the concocted threat from the far right to lead us by the nose into the cesspit of a fully controlled state where all dissent of woke diktats, let alone debate about them, is outlawed. Maybe to the point that even the remaining vestiges of freedom that journalists have are stripped away to leave only the regurgitation of the official views and statements. How can Kier, the nihilist Stalin, believe that following such a route is the answer? Probably why the rest of the sane world, what's left of it, is looking on with horror at what's now happening to our free speech. In fact, our government has botched it so badly that their idiotic push to crack down on the far right has also snared one of Starmer's own councillors. And I seem to have missed the Prime Minister's grovelling apology and a statement saying that this sort of behaviour from his own side is reprehensible. Ah well, he might be too busy out there visiting local community leaders, mightn't he? But that is not the only occurrence. A portion of the gathering of what appears to be Antifa, Labour Momentum and trades union members were gleefully chanting, or allegedly chanting, about wanting someone called Tommy dead as they marched along the road. It can be found within a certain Mr. T's profile on X. Very chilling. I hope these people are due to get a knock on the door too. I've kept a copy of that video, but I won't post it here for the now obvious reasons. Even though we all know there is no two-tier policing in the UK, don't we? We have just witnessed what appears to me to be a choreographed set of events leading up to people being locked away for shouting at the police, as well as an arrest yesterday for what the Cheshire Constabulary is calling an inaccurate social media post. Now that headline sounds very worrying, doesn't it? As if any incorrect tweet could bang you away for 10 years. But the content of that press release does say that the woman was arrested on suspicion of publishing written material to stir up racial hatred and false communications. So why wasn't that the headline? Unless the authorities are now pushing a war on social media, of course, with a part of that being an attempt to shock people into avoiding the likes of Twitter. Trying to make out that any inaccurate social media post would end up with you in jail. The authorities, like the police, are also under a duty to not put out information that might mislead, aren't they? But there now seems to be a running battle between Starmer and Elon Musk, the owner of X, with Starmer saying Musk will face the full force of the law. Good luck with that one. But has Musk actually broken the law? I don't know. Beware, the establishment is set on bringing X under its control. And crucially, we don't seem to have learned the lesson that the wrong time to impose new laws about any issue is when emotions are running high. Because that is exactly how draconian overreaction is legislated into law. Or is Starmer using this feverish time in order to get total control? I can understand the use of emergency legislation that lasts 28 days, but that is not what I'm seeing at the moment. What I'm seeing are attempts to lock down speech as far as the establishment can, permanently. Oh, but we'd had this sort of urgency over Hillsborough, or the safe and effective issue, for example. But no, they are subjected to the glacial speed approach. And for those who don't want to believe that the Labour Party would rush any such laws through, I'll give you a couple of examples. Sadiq Khan called the Online Safety Act unfit for purpose, and that was quickly followed by Kier today saying it will be reviewed, presumably to make it tougher, i.e. further stifling the freedom of expression. Sounds to me like they're looking for an on-off switch to use when things get a bit hot for them. But did you know that this Labour government is also quietly dropping the previous Tory government's legislation that enforces free speech in our universities? Yes, they're lining up to drop the Higher Education Freedom of Speech Act. Now, why would they want to do that, other than to keep the woke indoctrination educational sausage machine in full flow, as beloved by all the woke professors in the system? I cannot think of any other reason. But thankfully, the Free Speech Union has stepped in and has sent a pre-action letter to the Secretary of State for Education, Bridget Phillipson, threatening a judicial review if she doesn't reverse her decision. The FSU, headed by Toby Young, says that the Higher Education Freedom of Speech Act was carefully crafted and had cross-party support in Parliament. But the recent snap election came before the Act was due to come into full force, so Labour is now trying to derail it. The FSU thinks Phillipson's attempt to do this is ultra vires, or beyond her powers, and that she must disclose all the documents that might lead her to do this. And the FSU goes on to say, "We intend to fight this wanton act of vandalism with everything we've got. If the decision is allowed to stand, it will become virtually impossible for students and academics to challenge radical, progressive ideology on campus." If there was any time for people to become a member of the Free Speech Union and keep your freedom of expression intact, that time is now. And I'll point out that ECHR or no ECHR, Labour will use its massive parliamentary majority to force their authoritarian laws through onto the statute books. The European Convention on Human Rights will not save us from this. The best-selling Canadian author and clinical psychologist Dr. Jordan Peterson tweeted earlier today, "The thought police are not coming, they're here." And the mega social media influencer Joe Rogan says that the UK free speech crackdown reminds him of Soviet Russia. And this is just the start. Now follow that with blasphemy laws Labour has planned. Laws designed to only protect one demographic from all criticism, and you can see the danger we're in. No wonder a Mr. T is in such high demand, conducting interview after interview, especially with big influencer names across the pond in the USA. And he's already put out a question on X, referring to the rally on the 27th of July, asking, "Shall we unite the kingdom once again?" A question that seems to have been answered quite emphatically in the positive. No wonder some are so hell-bent on locking him away. So it seems that this latest little psyop charade by the establishment has not had the intended effect of cowing the people. In fact, it appears to me that the ordinary people are even more determined to get out there and peacefully and noisily make themselves heard, because it's the only legal way they can make their concerns known. Politicians, especially the lib-lab con lot, have signally failed to act on any of the concerns of the silent majority. We are now at the post-ballot box stage of shouting through megaphones at them. Now I'll leave you with just a little snippet. Some are saying that the MDL, not of course to be confused with the EDL, the MDL is a new fictitious thing, they say. But if you look for it, you'll find a petition made to government in 2012 calling for the MDL to be added to the proscribed list. So, it's not so new then.